why you need to be careful before you go to your church with your marital problems. If your marriage is dysfunctional, abusive, you're married to a narcissist, you've got lots of dysfunctional dynamics, anything, or you've married to somebody with neurodiversity, addiction. If your church is not one of the few that understand dysfunction in relationships and can give you wise counsel that is not just rigid, like kind of pat answers, um, Bible verses, or like the love your wife, submit to your husband, which can actually do more damage if you are in a dysfunctional relationship. If somebody tells you that, especially if you bring your spouse into counsel and you've got a husband who is abusive or narcissistic or selfish or addicted, cheating on you, any of those things, and you go in and he's controlling, and then some pastor says, oh, well, you need to submit to him more, or are you submitting to him? Or he complains that you're not submitting, and you say, uh, yes, I I need, I need to, he can use that against you and he will. Or same thing with sex, like, oh, she's not having sex, you need to have sex. Not asking you why, like, why are you not having sex? What's going on in this marriage that would lead you to not be able to have sex or not want to have sex with your spouse? Again, they don't understand abuse. You cannot take a couple that is dealing with abuse and counsel them as if they were a couple that was healthy, had both have healthy skills, both have healthy abilities and are relationally healthy. You can talk to them as a equal 50-50 part of the problem. You cannot with dysfunction treat them like they're each of them has the same amount of problems, or say things to them that have to do with submitting and all of those things, and that you have to have sex and you can't withhold your body from your spouse. By the way, I just heard somebody say on a abuse video that was talking about to women, that I not maybe not just women, to people who are abused, and they said, when the Bible tells you that you cannot withhold your body from your spouse, that you each own your own body, that it isn't just saying the man gets to use the wife and have sex with her whenever she wants. It's the wife owns the husband's body too. So the husband is going to do what the wife needs. So if the wife is finding sex abusive and sex uncomfortable, or for any reason, or the husband is doing things that are harmful to the wife and the relationship is not good and the wife's hurting, and having sex is going to feel like wives are like you're, not being treated with love. I'm going to do a video just on that after thinking about this. Then you can't have, if the wife controlled the husband's body, then he would be doing things loving to her, and that would be, so it's got to go both ways, not just one way, because that's what scripture says. So, but you've got to be very careful, because pastors that are only counseling you from pastoral counseling teaching, and most of the seminaries do not teach them about any dynamics. They don't know how to recognize abuse. They will commonly say things like, well, if there's physical abuse, you can separate, just just making emotional and verbal abuse like of no consequence, that it's okay, when it's not. It's just as destructive and often even more crazy making to have that in a relationship. So, and then there's different denominations that will, cover up anything that's going on. There's been some, I'm not going to name names of different churches that have just been willing to tell wives to cover up any type of abuse in the home. So you've got to be very careful that you are discerning as to what your church is able to do. If they have a marriage mentoring ministry or a Stevens ministry, those are all, or lay counseling, those are all wonderful. But you should wonder what their training is. Do they get training in dysfunctional dynamics? Do they, or is your church a, very rigid biblical counseling only counsel from the Bible? Then you're going to get some advice that is going to probably be harmful and hurtful and not discerning and understanding of mental illness, addiction, and dysfunction and abuse. So you don't want to have hurt upon hurt and even more damage done. And if you are going to a church where you have a you're required to take your problems to the elders, that is another concerning thing. Whereas if you're elders, I've seen it really go to a negative direction where the wife is called before or the husband before the elder board for being wanting to separate from a spouse when there is a need to separate because of, toxic things that are going on in the marriage, and they've decided whether or not that's okay. And turned against the spouse. I know people who refuse to go back to church ever because they've been told that they did not have grounds to separate or divorce when they did, and the church kind of turned against them. So use wisdom. And if you go to anyone in your church, just do a little background check, do a little figure out, what is their knowledge, and be willing and ready yourself to recognize when it's not healthy and to not put yourself under bondage to have to go along with it. To be able to say, no, I don't think that's healthy. They don't get it. They don't understand. I'm not going to put myself under any you know, um, what stewardship or what is it? Oh, I can't think of the word right now. Like, I'm not going to put myself under a shepherd, so to speak, that does not understand my needs and is going to do harm to me or to my children or to my marriage. So if you do go, you have to be wise enough to just ignore counsel that is harmful and hurtful. So, and don't let them judge you for that. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to follow the Lord. You've got to follow your conscience, and you have to do what is right for you. So, again, use wisdom. And they should not be controlling you with this. They should not be demanding. They should not be judging you, condemning you, or bringing you in front of the church because you are making decisions in a relationship that they don't understand. And another one of these rigid areas is the whole idea with divorcing, which scholars disagree on what is the biblical reasons to divorce. And I'm not a scholar. But there are lots of good books out there that you can read. One of them is called The Life-Saving Divorce by Gretchen Baskerville. So if you are needing to understand some of the scriptures regarding that. So anyway, if you have questions about this, feel free to write me. And I hope this has given you something to think about when you go to your church or before you go to your church for advice and how to keep yourself safe and protect yourself. All right. God bless you.